remember, the system here is socialist, and he needed to get to the people kwenye vijiji vya ujamaa kule. So a lot of times they used nationalistic music to get to the people. So a lot of the programming on Radio Tanzania, Dar es Salaam, was political. But they also introduced this music element so that people can be entertained. And they also realized that it's the best way to infuse politics.
So these guys had to go to Tanzania and they had to learn the language.
Actually, the process process was you compose the music, you take to RTD, which is Radio Tanzania Dar es Salaam. They will go through it.
Wow.
Yes, edit before you're allowed to record it. That's why there was very few songs that were not Swahili spoken. And I remember those were like liberation songs about like Nelson Mandela and other songs. Other than that, Niswa.
So it was enforced.
Yes, if you can sing, then play the instrument. Lakini hakukuwa na nyimbo nyingi za.
Okay, but sasa Bandio, at this time, before I come back to you, Jojo, hawa watu wametoka Kinshasa na Wakongole wa Kinshasa hawazungumzi Kiswahili. Wao ni wasemaji wa Lingala. Wa Eastern Congo wanazungumza Kiswahili.
Yes.
So did they come and learn Kiswahili?
Most of them came from Swahili speaking.
Oh, so most of them came from the Swahili part, okay, of Congo.
Yes.
Okay. This time when politics got into the music scene in Congo, I think this is the time in the book you say that now people start, there are some artists who are fleeing. Now, where are they going? And now, where are they taking this music with them? Because you said there's some who stopped singing like Papa Wendo, but where are these other musicians? You mentioned Uganda. What other places are they going, and where is Rumba going?
Okay, so let's move back a little bit.
Yeah.
Before Mobutu.
Yes.
So after the first, after what I call the first generation Congolese Rumba with Papa Wendo, there was a second generation of Congolese Rumba music, which brought in people like African jazz with Dr. Nico as the guitarist and Joseph Kabasele as the lead singer. This by far was the most influential Rumba band in Congo. Then after that came OK Jazz and then TP OK Jazz. So for the first 10 years, it was African jazz that was most dominant. And then Franco came as as OK Jazz and then TP OK Jazz. But also remember, there's a lot of other Rumba bands now. There's Orchestra Shama Shama, Orchestra Lipua Lipua, Orchestra Veve, Orchestra Kiam, and many, many, many more. Okay, so Rumba is booming now. After the generation, which I may call second generation of Franco and African jazz, there came a third generation, which I don't want to forget Tabule Rochereau, okay? Because he was a member of African jazz for a little bit, then left and formed his own band. Then after him, actually Franco was although Franco was the most popular one, Tabule was more transformative in that he moved the music, the Rumba music, away from the African jazz sound, which was more Cuban, to one that was more soukous and fast-paced, created for dancing. So he actually combined Rumba with James Brown kind of soul music. He even used to dance like James Brown. So that one picked up the tempo of Rumba music. Remember, like the African jazz was more laid back, back in the day. And then after that came the third generation now, which was Zaiko Langa Langa. Zaiko Langa Langa are actually the ones who created the Suku sound.
Yep.
Because now what they did is they got rid of the horn section, because these bands all had like saxophones and trumpets, maybe 6 in the band. So, and remember when Zaiko Langalanga started in the 70s, they were in their 20s. Yes. They were high school kids. So they decided this music that Tabule and Franca playing, this is for a generation that's gone. We need a new sound that's bumpier, that is higher octane for the younger generation. So they got rid of the horn section. They got rid of the maracas, percussion instruments that are Cuban influenced. They got rid of the claves. So for the horn section, they replaced that with a keyboard. And then for the percussion instruments, they replaced that with the modern drums now. And the African jazz, era, they also had the congas. Every band had those congas. They got rid of that. So what they did now, they created what we know now as the modern rumba or sukus, if you want to call it, the kind that Wenge Musica replicated, where up front there was like 5 to 6 vocalists or singers that harmonized and danced. Then there was the drummer, and then 3 guitars, yes. The bass, the rhythm, and the lead. Mm-hmm. So that now, the 3rd generation rumba, is what became sukus. And at this point now,
we hear you. No, we can hear you. We can hear you. Yeah.
So at this point now, Mobutu is in, okay? Mm-hmm. So at this point, Mobutu is in. So because the economy was going down and there was a lot of competition too in Kinshasa from all the different bands, some of the musicians decided, we gotta leave. So there are those who ended up in Paris, including Papa Wemba, Suku Stars, all the guitarists that we Diblo Dibala, who made the sound become the sound, the Suku sound.
The Diblo, that we Alan Kunku.
So like there's this is so much to unpack. Mm-hmm. The one thing that I'm seeing consistent in the history that you're giving is that mm-hmm. this music is evolving, but it's evolving within, it's growing from within. It's coming from this sound, then a new generation comes in, they take the same sound, but they tweak it. They take out some things, they add new ones, they add a dance element, they add the speed, but it's still, like growing within its own axis. It's not disconnected from its origins. Okay. All right. I think that's quite an important part, because I think that will be key in understanding why the disconnection that has been happening in Kenya, why that would be important. But I just want to remind the listeners, and actually before that, a couple of comments here were coming in thick and fast while we were speaking. Yakobo says, Okoth Jarapogi in an interview told me that they are fashioning some ohangla to sound like rumba. Ohangla is a Luo tune that might be influenced by outside genres, but it is very Luo. And I can see Brian Nyamu is in the building. Brian Nyamu, karibu sana. And then Yakobo says, Jojo say this is why VP Simaro left TP. Say this is why the VP Simaro left TP OK Jazz. Franco went political and full-blown money-minded. And then Slayapa says, some of these musicians I only know because of my parents. Okay? The 90s kids are coming in. And then Yakobo is saying Seben was enhanced. And then anasema tumefika hapa na hatujataja Madilu mahali. Huyo Jojo atafanya book isinunuliwe. That's the reason why you have to buy the book. Actually, the interesting thing about the book is that all these names that you knew, and even those ones you don't know, I can guarantee you they've all been mentioned in that book. We can't give you everything.
Lakini
you have to buy the book.
Lakini Madilu hata tujafika hapo.
Hatujafika hapo.
Madilu
Tuko kwenye generation.
Yes, hii generation bado inasonga.
But now you have to buy the book to get all these other juicy details.
The juicy details,
yes.
The meat and the potatoes.
Akinunua kitabu anaweza akakumbuka parents.
Hapo sasa. Now, I want to remind the listeners that you tuned into the One Mic Show, and of course, I'm your co-host and producer, Ali Badawi. We are talking to Jojo Kilimanjaro, a pioneer of the Kenyan music promotion in the US. He's also the author of Rumba Evolution, a book that traces how African rhythms traveled to Cuba via slave ships, then evolved and returned to shape the golden era of rumba in Congo, Tanzania, and Kenya, of course, before being disrupted by foreign influences. He has a book launch ceremony next Friday, March the 7th from 7 p.m. at the Cedar Cultural Center at 416 Cedar Avenue, Minneapolis, Minnesota. So please RSVP. We're going to be posted. I don't know whether we've posted it, but Jojo, if you can, just post it on the YouTube comments. The book is also available on Amazon. So please grab your copy, or you can get an audio version of it. And we'll shortly be talking about the tribalization of Kenyan music and why new urban genres failed to move beyond Kenyan borders. So stay tuned for that. We're going to understand that connection and disconnection part. Our lines are open. The number to call, 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. Feel free to call in. Then, of course, you have to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and all other places we're in at One Mic Show.
X.
Yeah, and X, we are getting there. We are getting to X. We're not quite there.
We are still X'd out.
Yeah, we are still X'd out, but we're gonna get there. But remember,
blackout?
yes, but remember on the YouTube page especially to like the video and also subscribe. Make sure you subscribe and share this video. Make sure all other people are getting these gems that you can only get in no other place but
the One Mic
Show. Now,
wakumbushe number to call.
Yes, number to call again, 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. I guess people have started chattering here on Facebook once again. Slay is being told that her age is showing. I don't know exactly what that means, Washeke. Yes, and then hapa Steven JJ anasema ndani ya nyumba. Karibu sana Steven JJ, umechelewa kidogo, but the show is going on. And then Yakobo is talking about Genzish. I don't know.
That was for Slay, and Slay replied and said,
okay.
You know, she's not Gen Z.
Okay. I got it. Okay.
Yep.
And then hapa Yakobo anasema umeanza, utauliza kama Majimaji Rebellion pia iko huko.
Promotion by Gen Z.
And then
kama motion Gen Z ilikuwa ni before imeanza tena A up to this is it.
Oh, the previous Gen Z.
The previous Z.
Before this one.
Ikaja A.
Okay. And then Upper Slay is saying I have a whole collection. And Juliet AO says my dad used to play Franco and Pepe Kale early morning before going to work. And then Washeke anasema tupatie alternatives for buying the book. We are boycotting Amazon. Okay. Now this right here, I don't know.
Jojo says he has some things in his house.
Copies.
Yeah.
He has some things in his house. Maybe he'll give you.
Yeah. So I think
he'll give you his address. You show up.
Yes. So I think you can get it from Jojo directly. And Jojo is gonna leave his details down here in the comment section so that you can make that connection to get the book. And it may have some scribbling up on mbele. What do people call it? Is it a signature or autograph?
Autograph.
Yeah, it may have that. And then of course those who are gonna be in Minneapolis. Yeah, exactly. Now, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Make sure you attend the book launch. There will be a live band on that book launch. So
with my friend Innocent Galinoma Mfalingundi.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
But what?
Innocent Galinoma Mfalingundi.
Okay, sawa. So those who are only if you attend, you'll be able to see that. And then Upper Slay anasema my dad used to keep them and was not able to get anything. I grew up on Zaiko Langalanga, Pepe Kale, Madilu, and Wenge Muzika or someone. I remember Pepe Kale did this very famous song after that Cameroonian team did well in the 1990 World Cup. Roger Mila.
Roger Mila.
Yes. Maka.
Makanaki.
Kraile.
Yeah,
Kraile
you know,
Makanaki.
that's something that's still in my memory.
You forgot that song of his. My daughter.
Oh, of course, that one too. That one too. And then Pepe Kale had another short guy.
Emoro.
We used to dance for him.
Emoro.
Yeah, we remember. Yeah, we remember this.
And then
we
Emoro
remember
had a
this.
Chile also.
They used to perform at a place called
Tex. When you're talking about Rumba, Papi Tex.
yeah, Papi Tex. Huyo hapo bado sijamsikia.
No, Papi Tex was a guy who had a
Tex.
box. Alikuwa na box kama
no,
ya
no,
ule
no.
mse wa cameo.
Okay. Because these guys used to perform at a place called Hillock. I think ilikuwa karibu na, was it near JKIA? There's some place called Hillock in
Yes.
Nairobi where they used to perform a lot.
Garden Square.
Now back to you, Jojo. Before we get lost, because now we're at the point where the people have escaped. A lot of these musicians have fled because of Mobutu. The Tanzanian version of Rumba is now growing because now you have musicians, Congolese musicians in Tanzania, who are also now adopting to the tastes in Tanzania. Actually, before I come to Jojo, maybe I want Bandio to briefly talk about that, because Congolese music was also very popular. Nowadays, people identify Tanzania with bongo, but this type of music that was imported from Congo was very popular at some point in Tanzania. So just briefly talk about that period when there was started being an influx of Congolese artists into Tanzania.
Well, at that time, I think what happened, because mostly it was jazz. So you see, it was Jiwata Jazz Band, it was Vijana Jazz, it's either jazz or orchestra. And like I said, the influence of that with traditional music, adding strings and saxophones to it, and the messaging was the biggest thing, and songs about liberation. Remember Tanzania,
Okay.
this quote unquote center for it. So liberation, Mozambique and South Africa and stuff, that really grew. And we only had one recording station, and that was Radio Tanzania, right? Which was different. Omosh talk about, you know, the recording studios. Actually, this is how we even lost Mbaraka Mwinshe.
Yes.
Who
Road
went-
accident.
Yes, road accident. Went to Kenya to record, and then we lost him for that, because he was searching for that quality. If you listen to Mbaraka Mwinshe, he used to record in Kenya, and then you listen to Remy Ongala, who used to go to UK.
Kifo.
Right.
Surabaya.
I was a grown up
Lucky.
when I came to know that Remy Ongala was actually a Tanzanian. I never knew he was Tanzanian.
It was a Congo.
Yeah.
It was a Congolese.
Oh, Congolese.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, so he was
Congolese.
actually Congolese.
Yes, it was a Congolese. Related to
Yes, he was Congolese, yes.
Tonton Makase.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I meant he was Congolese. Yeah, I was
Yes.
grown up, you know, like, because I always
Most
knew
people
Remy
thought he
Ongala.
was from Songea, Tanzania,
Yeah.
and he was not.
Yeah.
So those are the people who came in. I mean, Ndala Kasheba,
Yeah.
and they brought string to Tanzanian music.
Okay.
So that was, I think this is when it became really, really popular. Like the book say, it wasn't until like 1991 when they started privatizing recording studios. That's when the MJ Studios and all these studios came in to life. But I think one thing that most people in TZ related to was the use of strings that they came with.
Okay.
If you watch people like Remy Ongala, it was very popular, and his 12 guitar, you know, acoustic or Galatoni.
Yeah.
Who else? Baraka Mwinshe,
Yeah.
Ndala Kasheba, you know, strings were the thing back then.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Sasa, Jojo, going back to you, what was the main difference? Because Tanzanian music was also evolving. It had that influence of Rumba. And of course, you know, like there was also an evolution in Kenya. And of course, we can see also on YouTube, DJ Banti is here. Thank you so much for tuning in, DJ Banti. DJ Banti is talking about the hype man, Myoka.
Mayoka Longo.
Oh, Mayoka Longo. And then evolving is the word, I think, talking about how that music has been changing. Now, this evolution, what was the difference between how, it evolved in Tanzania? Because Tanzania still had that foreign influence, but Tanzania kept a certain local touch where there might have been some difference on how it was evolving in Kenya. So talk to us, what really is happening and what are the differences between how this music is evolving. Apple, we are in the 70s, maybe going towards the 80s.
So in Tanzania, Julius Nyerere plays a critical role in the development of the music scene. Remember, the system here is socialist, and he needed to get to the people kwenye vijiji vya ujamaa kule. So a lot of times they used nationalistic music to get to the people. So a lot of the programming on Radio Tanzania, Dar es Salaam, was political. But they also introduced this music element so that people can be entertained. And they also realized that it's the best way to infuse politics and to reach the masses. So in Tanzania, there was quarters. I remember from the festival that happened in Kenya. Was it the Furaha Festival where Diamond did not perform?
Mm-hmm.
So later he talked about how music should just let whatever people like, let that happen. But he, like many other young people who have not taken the time to research, Tanzania protected its local music. And even the Congolese who came in had to sing in Swahili.
Yes.
Wow.
And they did not even pretend like the Congolese that came to Kenya with Batoto ba Nairobi.
Yeah, Batoto ba Mungu.
They spoke fluent Swahili.
Yes.
Okay?
Wow.
That's why the music that came from there, sometimes we couldn't even tell that the singers were Congolese, including
Remi Ongala.
And Karubandika.
Yep.
We didn't know that those were Congolese musicians.
So these guys had to go to Tanzania and they had to learn the language.
Actually, the process was you compose the music, you take to RTD, which is Radio Tanzania Dar es Salaam.
Uh-huh.
They will go through it.
Wow.
Yes, edit before you're allowed to record it. That's why there was very few songs that were not Swahili spoken. And I remember those were like liberation songs about like Nelson Mandela and other songs. Other than that, Niswa.
So it was enforced.
Yes, if you can sing, then play the instrument. Lakini hakukuwa na nyimbo nyingi za.
Okay, but sasa Bandio, at this time, before I come back to you, Jojo, hawa watu wametoka Kinshasa na Wakongole wa Kinshasa hawazungumzi Kiswahili. Wao ni wasemaji wa Lingala. Wa Eastern Congo wanazungumza Kiswahili.
Yes.
So did they come and learn Kiswahili?
Most of them came from Swahili speaking.
Oh, so most of them came from the Swahili part, okay, of Congo.
Yes.
Okay.
Sikiliza wengi walikuwa wanatokea.
Okay, quite interesting. Jojo, back to you.
Yeah, and then the fact that the musicians were on payroll played a great part in developing Tanzanian music. So I remember bands like DDC Mlimani Park Orchestra even had tour buses.
Yes.
So the government was really involved in one way or another. The government and its what we might call parastatals in Kenya were involved in developing that music and sound. So there's the muziki wa dansi or Tanzanian rumba it sounds kind of like Congolese rumba, but it's more laid back. Kuna ule Uswahili, the coastal people like to take it easy. That element is in there. That's why you can distinguish Kenyan rumba versus Tanzanian rumba, because the Tanzanian one is more laid back and the messaging is more about life, advice about life. Waheshimu wazazi, nimemtuma sijui ni mshenga. It's more a lot about.
So there was social consciousness in their music.
Yes.
There was social consciousness in their music.
Yeah, so they transferred our traditional way of communicating through stories into the music.
Okay,
so if you listen to their music, it's a lot about advice and everyday life.
Kasongo,
Heshimu wazazi. So
salamu kwa wajomba, shukrani kwa wazazi.
Yes.
Shukrani kwa wazazi.
Yeah.
Na washukuru wazazi wangu. I remember Mlimani Park Orchestra. That was one of the most popular songs. Even the love songs like Neema, you know, and the other si kama ile ati oh nikikumbuka silali sikuli ugali sijui nini, you know. It's more advice, yani tabia,
okay.
You know, heshimu wageni wangu wakifika.
Yeah, and you know, and it's interesting because we saw that system of socially conscious music even move to more modern day artists, the likes of Professor J. And now in the bongo flavor, like you'd still see some. I mean, of course, things have been changing over time, but you'd still see, you know, like that socially conscious music. You'd still see it with a lot of modern day artists. So you talked about Tanzania and I believe in Congo having some sort of protection on their music industry, but Kenya, on the other hand, what was happening? Is it that there was no proper structures, or was it an influx of foreign music? What different was happening in Kenya as compared to what was happening in Tanzania and Congo?
So in Kenya is actually the opposite of Congo and Tanzania. The government was not involved, not interested in promoting music. So you can separate that from the fact that when the Congolese arrived in the 70s, they were able to get airplay on government radio station. I think that they could not do in Tanzania initially unless they learned English and the
Swahili.
Their music has been passed.
Yeah.
You know? So when they arrived in Kenya, and basically they came to Kenya because of it was more stable politically, and there was a lot of studios in Nairobi that were world class back then. Okay. A lot of you may not know that Kenya had Polygram, the only vinyl pressing plant in Eastern Central Africa. So a lot of musicians used to come to Kenya to record. So these Congolese arrived in the 70s, and there's all these studios that they could just get in and record. And their brand of music combined with high fashion and stagemanship stole the show. People just fell in love with that. So if you take that, and the fact that Kenyans just love foreign things, and the fact that the government didn't care, and there was no protections for the local music, piracy went rampant, our music went down. Now in the 50s, 60s, 70s, we had Kenyan superstars like Daudi Kabaka. There's never been a Kenyan superstar bigger than Daudi Kabaka, because Daudi Kabaka's music was everywhere, mjini na mashinani. Unaelewa? Fadhil Williams' music was everywhere. So nilikuwa nikisikia anti yangu akiimba Taxi Driver, najua chapo zinapikwa leo. Unaona? And the music went everywhere in the country. So ukiwa Nairobi ama uwe Mombasa, utasikia, na uwe mashinani utasikia Fundi Konde, utasikia Fadhil Williams, utasikia Daudi Kabaka, utasikia John Mwale. And this is before independence. Nobody cared about tribe. Music was everywhere. And even after independence, music was a unifying factor. You know, there were songs that were meant to unify the country, kama Harambe Harambe, Kenyatta liteswa sana. You know, so that's the big difference. In Kenya, you don't see, apart from Maroon Commandos, which was supported by the army, it was a military band.
Yes.
There was no Rumba band that lasted for long. Because TPOK jazz is not Kenyan. I'm talking about the Kenyan scene.
The Kenyan scene, yeah.
Virunga, Samba Mapangala?
That's Congolese. I'm
That's
talking about the
Congolese.
Kenyan bands.
Yeah, because
They
I think
were in Kenya,
Tanzania.
they were in Kenya. We are saying they're Kenyan, bana.
no, they were not, like, yes, they were still Congolese.
Anasema band yenye ilikuwa na wa Kenya.
But is this the point where we are starting to
mushrooms.
have an identity crisis between Benga between Benga and Rumba?
Hii ilikuwa nani? TPOK.
Oh, no, Jojo, ngoja kidogo Mika. Nasema, is this the point where we are starting to have an identity crisis between what's Kenyan Benga and Rumba? Because why did Benga kind of start struggling when this Rumba sound arrived?
Oh my goodness. So, okay. The biggest kick to Kenyan music was the emergence of tribal politics.
How?
This is so serious, but people don't know about it. But for the Kenyans who are there, wapo kwa studio, ni watu wangapi hapo wako na mziki kutoka kwa tribe ingine?
What exactly do you mean?
For example,
I see where he's going. Okay,
Yeah.
but
forget about Swahili music, English music, wachana hizo. If you're from one tribe, how many songs from another tribe do you have on your playlist? Kwa playlist yako ukiangalia, ni ngoma ngapi unazo ambazo si za Kiswahili, si za Kizungu na si za tribe yako?
I think another simple way of asking that question is whenever like an ethnic artist comes to the US, let's say Samido for the Kikuyus, or Prince Inda for the Luos, who do you see in the crowd? Like, who's the majority of the crowd that goes to see? Let's talk about Samido, because we've all here attended a Samido. Who's in the crowd? I think that's a question you're asking.
But at least Samido body
What is he singing?
very mixed crowd.
Anaimba nini?
No, Samido ni muziki ya Kikuyu.
So most definitely
Yeah,
watu
ni Mkikuyu, lakini ile show yake ya Baltimore ilikuwa na very mixed crowd.
There was a mix, but overwhelming
Majority ni wa Kikuyu.
Yes. So I think that's what Jojo here is.
No, I understood Jojo's
So what I want
question
exactly
immediately.
pali
Yeah.
mvua ilianzia.
Okay.
After independence, 3 or 4 or 5 years after independence, when before independence and right after independence, the country was united because we had a common enemy, the colonialists. Then right after independence, ukikumbuka, these musicians walikuwa wanaimba nyimbo ambazo went across the country. 1 and 2, a lot of people may not know that even Kikuyu bands used Luo musicians. Ata Wakamba. When it came to Benga, it's the Luos who did the guitar playing. So hakukuwa na shida hapo. After independence, when the first Kenyatta na Jaramogi walikosana, hapo ndio shida ilianzia. So hiyo kitu ilikuja ikakuwa so political that it affected watu walikuwa wanafanya kazi in the government. It affected the venues that were mostly owned by Kikuyus and did not allow Luo bands to play. I don't think a lot of you know that. Now, they instead opted for Congolese or Tanzanian. Remember, there's Tanzanian bands that moved to Kenya. Simba Wanyika na Mbaraka Mushe.
Okay. Simba Wanyika is what became Les Wanyika.
Became Les Wanyika.
Yeah,
Okay.
Not became, but it was a splinter.
It was a splinter.
Yeah,
Okay.
It was a splinter group.
Okay. And
Na sasa ulikuwa ukisikiza Airwaves,
Mhm.
the Benga ilikuwa imetolewa ikakuwa replaced na Lingala, and Tanzanian music. There was Les Wanyika played everywhere.
So what era are we talking? Are we in the 80s or in the 90s?
So now we're in the 80s.
Okay.
I mean, in terms of muziki kutolewa, imeanza 70s.
Yeah.
No, imeanza 70s.
Okay.
The political divide is deepening in the late 60s and 70s. So now the politics penetrates and affects the music, that now musicians became relegated to only playing in the neighborhoods. So a big act like Dio Misiani used to play in Nairobi had to go back to Kisumu and play at a bar there.
Wow.
Because in Nairobi, it was even difficult for him to find a venue acheze hapo, because a lot of them, politics imeingia sahi, venue iko na Mkikuyu, bendi ya Mjaluo icheze hapa. Hii ni history ambayo tuna need kujua where it all started.
Wow, this is, I don't know, like, this is one of those things where you don't even know, like when you don't know something existed, you don't even know where to look for it. So we are seeing things happen currently in the music scene, and most people have no clue that these things slowly started in the 70s until up to where it is right now. So it's not something that happened overnight. A couple of comments here coming. Our Glass Figure says, thanks for breaking it down, because this is very informative. Music brings the world together, but we never take time to do research, and we never even ask questions like when and how this was produced. Jacobo says, so when did Rumba shift to Benga in Kenya? I think we're still talking about that. And then TPOK, when did Rumba shift to Benga in Kenya? You're going to talk about that. And then TPOK, Adhiambo says TPOK was the primary name for Franco Band. And then Adhish says, yeah, before you talk about Samido or Prince Inda, talk about the pioneers like Ochieng, Kabasele, Joseph Kamaru, and the likes. And then we have Tabitha Njeri, all the way from Houston, Texas. She says, this episode is so informative. Eyes opened. And Slay says, yes, it is. Yakobo says, wewe ni encyclopedia, unajua mziki. And then it says, kina Diomasiani, George Ramogi. And then Tabitha is asking, what's the name of the book again? That means Tabitha wants to buy the book. And again, the name of the book is Rumba Evolution, RUMBA. And it's on Amazon. Make sure you get your copy. There's going to be a book launch next week at the Cedar Cultural Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota, 416 Cedar Avenue. Make sure you RSVP to attend the event, and there will be a live band at the event. So make sure, and for those who are boycotting Amazon, Jojo, please type your contacts hapo kwa Facebook and YouTube, so that people can contact you directly.
They can DM you.
Yeah, so that you can, you can exchange, if you need to exchange money, if you need to do barter trade, or if you need to exchange other things, and then you send them the book, and then they give you the cowrie shells or whatever they're going to give you in exchange.
Someone can cut your grass.
Yeah.
And you give them a book.
Yes, something like that. Yeah. So quite profound. People want to buy this book. They want to read it. I'll tell you, it's very compelling. Whatever we are discussing here, this is all surface level. As profound as it is so surface level. If you want to get the details, go into the book, because I was finding difficulty. Hata nilikuwa nasema, Jojo, what is he talking about? How is there a connection from Cuba to New York, and then to World War II, African soldiers, and then we come back to Africa, and then we have you say you wanted to ask something. Yes, we have a special guest in the studio who also has a question. She was not initially, she was camera shy. She did not want to appear, but because the conversation is so compelling,
it is so hot.
Yeah, it is so hot. I'm gonna let her introduce herself, her name, maybe where she's originally from, and then talk to us. And don't get too excited. Let's go ahead, Zanele.
Hello. Oh. Is it too loud?
No, we can hear you
It's
loud
okay.
and
We
clear.
can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Hi, everyone, all over the place. And thank you for welcoming me today. And also, thank you, Mr. Giorgio, for your time, and thank you for breaking it down for us. It's been very, very informative because we love music. Music brings us all together in one place. And without that being said, we don't really deep dive in to find out exactly where the music is coming from and who made it and how all those questions we never asked for ourselves for. So thank you for taking your time and writing the book. And I'm the one who's interested in buying it, or maybe I can start walking to get to
Minnesota.
Minnesota to go and grab it myself.
If you start today, you'll get there by the time the book launch is happening.
Okay.
All right.
Maybe I can bring a bike too sometime or something like that.
All right, good. And then remind the listeners who maybe are seeing you for the first time, what's your name?
Yes.
What part of Africa are you originally from?
Yeah,
And that
because
kind
you
of
sound
thing.
like you sound like
Yeah.
you
You
have,
sound Kenyan.
Yeah,
you sound
Kenyan,
like you're supposed to be in Kenya, but
they might be somewhere.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, you get that right. Originally, first of all, my name is Zanele Magwaza, very, very popular last name in South Africa. And yeah, I was born in Johannesburg, grew up in KwaZulu Natal. So right now I am based. Oh yes, I'm a Zulu girl. Right now I'm based in the USA in Maryland, Rockville.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Welcome to the show.
All right. Welcome to the show. And then, there's something that you're planning to start at some point. Please talk about it for like a minute.
Of course.
And then we're going to send you an invoice after the show. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I do a lot of things. So I have like 2 businesses that is going on right now. I do. I'm one. I don't know if you notice on the comments. My name is Hourglass Figure over there. That's the company that I'm a CEO of it.
Okay.
And I'm having a podcast coming in soon.
Okay.
Yes.
From Kilimanjaro Studios.
From Kilimanjaro Studios.
Okay.
Yes. We're gonna have a lot of more. So stay tuned, subscribe, and we're gonna have more. You keep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Keep your.
Now, quickly, in South Africa, is there any Kenyan music that any South African
rumba.
listen to?
I
Rumba, anything. Be honest. That's
be
okay.
honest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So what kind of Kenyan music are South Africans listening to? Any artist? I think that gives us an answer. I think that gives us an answer. No,
No.
it's okay. It's okay.
I'm trying to really remember very well all of them, but honestly, we South African, we really kind of like really diverse, and we welcome every music. And most likely, I think he spoke about Fela Kuti. In South Africa, it was kind of like part of like Nigeria kind of help colonized.
But I've been to South African parties, especially the days when house was very popular.
Yeah.
You guys would play house from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Until the house fell down.
And if someone dares to suggest playing a reggae song, you will even be kicked out of that party. And it was dancing from the beginning to the end.
Yeah, we danced the
There was
whole
no
night.
joke.
There's no joke. We on our feet the whole day.
It's
the whole
serious
night.
business.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't stop.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's good. So Jojo Meona, we have, even people from South Africa who are getting some very compelling tidbits from what you're talking
Knowledge.
about. And like I said, this is all surface level. You have to purchase the book. I have placed the links.
The book is good.
Yeah, I placed the links on the comment section on Facebook. The book has details that we cannot even cover tonight, because if we were to cover all those details, we would be staying here, I think, until 6 a.m. In the morning. So Appa, there's a confusion, because Jacobo was talking about Benga and Rumba. So is Benga what influenced Rumba, or Rumba influenced Benga? There's some kind of identity crisis here, like when it comes to this Kenyan music. And of course, we've been talking about now the airwaves being occupied by music from other places. Jojo.
Okay, let me clarify that. Benga is native Kenyan music that originated from the shores of Lake Victoria. It started with the traditional instrument, the orutu. So when the guitar arrived, the Luo musicians, adapted that sound to the acoustic guitar or the box guitar. We also call it the dry guitar. And then when the electric guitar came, they moved the sound to the electric guitar. Now, at some point, to be more appealing and be able to compete with the Congolese, some of the rumba sounds from Congo were incorporated into benga. But benga is a Kenyan sound.
Benga is a Kenyan sound, okay.
Kenya is a benga sound that started from around Lake Victoria. And almost every region had some really popular benga bands, except the coast. The coast stuck with a rumba. But from the shores of Lake Victoria, you had Dio Misiani. But Dio Misiani, what people don't know, who's thought of as the king of benga, was actually Tanzanian. He was not Kenyan.
Correct. From Shirati.
He was from Shirati.
Okay. Wow. And now
so you have bands like Victoria Kings, Kolela Mazee. That's from the Luo region. Then you come to Kisii, you had people like Monyoncho, you go to Kambani, there was Kaikai Kilonzo and Kilimambogo Brothers. That's all benga.
Okay. And now,
that's all rumba.
Now this influence, of course, the influence is coming from the Congolese side to East Africa, to both Tanzania and Kenya. Was there anything that the Congolese picked from us, or was this all one-way traffic? Like we're picking up from them, but there's nothing they're picking up from us.
There's a unique sound that came from Kenya that combined rumba with benga. That is what musicians like Samba Mapangala did.
Vunja mifupa kama bado meno iko.
Go ahead.
Vunja mifupa kama bado meno iko.
Yeah, so if you listen to that song, it's not your typical Congolese rumba song.
No, it's not. It definitely
it's a Kenyanized version.
Okay.
So that's the bands like Super Mazembe, Mangelepa, Viva Makale.
Yep.
So adapted that sound. It was basically a fusion of rumba and benga.
Wow. This is there's just so much here. I feel like I need a notebook to take down some notes.
Don't worry, the show is recorded.
Okay, all right. So we can go back and listen to it. Okay.
But you can't read the show like the book.
You can't read the show. You can't transcribe the show.
It's an audio book.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Facebook inakwanga na nini?
Okay.
Captions hapo chini.
Yeah.